Hey, what's up, YouTube? Red and Bordy here. Today, we are going to talk about New World Armor, how it works, everything you need to know about armor leading up to the closed beta, which is in less than a month away, Bordy. So we got to get ready here, dude. And here's the first piece of information about armor. So, armor in Amazon's New World MMORPG plays a huge role in how your overall character functions in the game. It doesn't just provide mitigation, but it also determines how agile and slow your character can become during combat. New World has 3 different armor categories, light, medium, and heavy, and you can mix and match pieces of gear in order to obtain your desired build. Now, armor in New World can also provide your character with special bonuses and additional attribute points through the perks and the gem slot system. So, Bordy, here we go with the tiers and level requirements here. These have changed quite a bit since the preview event. So, if you just played then, here's the changes. The gear system in New World is based off of tiers. Of course, those tiers all have competing or different level requirements within the tier. So tier 2 is level 1 through 19. You might have a piece of armor that requires you to be level 12 or 14, but that is where the tier 2 armor kind of sets. So tier 3 armor sets between 20 and 39. You will be able to equip tier 4 armor from level 40 to 59, and then Bordy at level 60. It has its own tier, and that is tier 5. That's a great change, in my opinion, from the preview event. You could be able to equip tier 5 gear at level 50, so there was no feel toward when you got to end game.
Agreed.
Also worth noting, it is higher rarity gear has a lower level requirement than lower rarity gear with the same gear score, which makes rarity of gear even more valuable. So Bordy, what do you think so far? Dude, the changes to level requirements are very, very good in my opinion, and as we're gonna read on, there's a lot better changes coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it, man. And before, I think there was only tiers in the game. Now there's levels and tiers, and I think that system works out a little bit better. So once you reach a certain level, you can then equip more and more armor. The progression flows a little bit better now, which I like a lot. Yeah,
for sure. All right, so armor rarities. There are different gear rarities in New World. The armor is no exception. This is pretty standard for MMOs. Common is gray, uncommon is green, rare is blue, epic is purple, and gold is legendary. Each perk in your armor has counts as a rarity point. A gem slot and attributes also count as a rarity point, which results in a potential total of 5 rarity points. If an item has a maximum of 5 rarity points, then it is considered a legendary item. So that's important to note too. Not only are you just getting a different color of armor, but you're also getting more perks and more stats. So also, the rarer the item, the higher the gear score will be within the gear's tier range. The number of perks of rarity associated with each tier is as followed. So 0 common, which is your gray, has 0 perks on it. Uncommon has 2, rare 3, epic 4, and legendary 5. It's worth noting that there can be either 1 or 2 attribute bonuses associated with a piece of gear, and both 1 to 2 attribute points are considered 1 rarity point. So, Bordy, again, this is important to note too, and we might talk about this a little bit later, that the stats that you get on the armor also goes up with rarity as well, I believe. So,
yes.
Bordy, take it away with the gear score.
Yeah, man. So along with everything Red talked about, there's also gear score attached to your armor and all of your gear, really. But in this video, we're talking about armor. So gear score in New World is important to the overall strength of your build. So that obviously the higher the gear score means better armor mitigations. And your gear score follows a range per tier of gear. So tier 2 has a gear score of 100 to 299. Tier 3 is 250 to 399. Tier 4 is 350 to 499. And then tier 5 gear is a gear score of 450 to 600. So both your physical and elemental resistances scale with your gear score. So the higher the gear score, the higher your mitigations. So your mitigations, as we mentioned, are physical and elemental resistances. So you have both of them help mitigate damage, and obviously physical helps mitigate physical damage types such as melee, ranged, like your ranged musket, your bow, axe throws, that type of stuff. And then elemental resistance is all magic damage types like your fire, your void, your lightning, all of that good stuff. So they both scale consistently across all armor classes, across light, medium, and heavy. Your physical and elemental scale consistently. So heavy armor has the highest mitigations of both physical and elemental elemental, and light armor has the lowest of both mitigations, both physical and elemental. So there are other advantages to light and medium armor, though. So don't worry, because they have lower mitigations. There are other advantages to those. So the amount of physical resistances you receive from each piece of armor is determined by a prefix system, and we're going to talk about that here in just a second. They added this new prefix and suffix system to the game, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. So your armor weight is an incredibly important part of New World. So there is light, medium, or light, normal, and heavy armor weight. So every piece of armor in New World has a weight assigned to it, and that weight pushes you into different armor classes, and you can mix and match light and medium and heavy armor to obtain your desired weight class. So whenever you're in the light category, your dodge is a quick roll. It covers a lot of distance. Light armor is a little bit less protective, but you do gain a 20% damage bonus while in light armor. So there you go. There's the perk to wearing light armor. Lower mitigation, higher damage. So normal, whenever you're in the normal weight category, your quick dodge then becomes kind of a hop versus an actual dodge. This is a pretty good balance between protection and mobility. You deal 10% damage, and crowd control debuffs you apply last 10% longer, so 10% additional damage. And then in heavy armor, obviously you have the most mitigation, but you have very limited mobility. You no longer have a dodge roll or a dodge step, but your stability is increased. Your block stability is increased by 15%, and your crowd control debuffs you apply last 20% longer. So Red, so far, before I jump into the prefix and suffix system, what do you think about this? Because this is much different the way armor scales now than the way armor did back during the preview event.
Not to toot our own horn here, but we had mentioned the conflict in mitigation between, light armor technically at that time was the best way to get elemental resistance. So not only did you get the benefits of wearing light armor, but you also had the highest tier of a certain type of resistance, and I'm glad that they changed that now. Light armor has the least amount of resistance in any category. Obviously, you do now have perks that give you an increase in damage dealt, which I think is another great change, because now you're risking your life, or you're less able to mitigate damage, but you have the opportunity to deal more. So overall, dude, I think these changes to armor weight and the way they work were really, really good changes.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So I'm going to go over this prefix and suffix system really fast, Red, then I'll toss it back over to you so we can go over how to obtain armor in the game. So the prefix and suffix system is relatively new to the game. So for those of you who are just now kind of getting back into New World, or maybe played the preview event, this is completely different than it was in the preview event. So now all armor in New World has a specific name, and the name is going to have a prefix and then a possible suffix within that name. So the prefix and suffix is going to tell you a lot about the armor, which includes the type of mitigation you're going to get from that armor, the type of attribute point bonuses you're going to receive, and we will have a full list of all of the prefixes and suffixes over here on New World Fans that tell you exactly what each armor type does, each prefix, each suffix. That way, whenever you're scrolling through the trading post or whenever you pick up a piece of armor, you can reference that little chart and you'll know. But we can't drop that just yet. So let's look at an example of the prefix and suffix system really fast, right? So if you have an item that's called Still Heavy Boots of the Barbarian, right? Well, the prefix is going to tell us the primary resistance on the boots are going to be physical resistance, and the secondary will be elemental. So that means this piece of armor is going to have more physical resistance than elemental resistance, and we get that from the prefix of Still. All right, and then the suffix of Barbarian tells us that the piece of armor is going to give you a primary attribute bonus of Strength and a secondary attribute bonus of Constitution. So you're going to be heavy on the physical side. This is going to scale off of Strength and Constitution, and if the item has a suffix, and not all items do, then you're guaranteed to receive the primary bonus if it has the suffix, and in most cases you're going to receive a secondary attribute as well. So your prefix is going to tell you the type of resistance, whether it be heavy on physical or elemental, and then your suffix is going to tell you what type of attribute bonus or stat bonus you get for wearing that piece of armor. In the preview system, I think that was based off of your gems. That is no longer the case. Gems do not apply stats to your armor anymore. Now it is based off of this prefix and suffix system. So Red, how about you tell us how we can obtain armor in New World, man?
Exactly. Everybody wants to know this. How do I get the dope looking armor? And here's how. Armor in New World can be obtained from drops, crafting and trading posts, faction vendors, outpost rush armor crates, and by completing special armor quests. Also, expeditions Now they've basically intertwined a bunch of different armor sets with a bunch of different activities. Now it's basically each activity has its own type of armor, so it's pretty sick. I love the changes that they made so far in that category as well. Armor can drop from mobs that you can encounter and defeat while exploring Aeternum. Armor that drops from these encounters will have a set gear score, tier, and possible perks. Dropped armor can also have empty gem slots that you can utilize by adding a gem that can increase additional perks, give you different mitigations to maybe physical or elemental resistance, or a particular type of resistance such as void or electricity, so on and so forth. Typically, the higher the mob that you defeat, the higher tier and higher gear score items will be dropped. However, as you level up, lower tier armor and other gear still play an important role in New World. Obtaining lower tier armor is valuable because you can salvage it, which can give you repair parts, and you can use to repair your current gear. Also, they just changed it, so now we'll drop a little bit of gold too, so you can kind of get rich off of armor drops. Armor can be obtained through crafting, the trading post and faction vendors, of course. There are also special armor quests you can complete in order to obtain specific armor sets. These quests are a chain consisting of 5 child quests, which will guide you to the forge. It will allow you to forge each piece. You'll get the recipe. Each successful quest requires a new level threshold: 40, 45, 50, 55, and 60. You can craft a piece of the set upon completing the child quest and obtaining the required ingredients. Each item in this set contributes to a set bonus, which will confer increased stats depending on the level of armor and the number of armor pieces that you've given in the set piece or the set that you've equipped. And I love that change as well, Bordy. One of the things that we've kind of mentioned and we're kind of fans of is ESO, the set bonus, system. I think they do an amazing job at diversifying builds through those set bonuses. And so I'm glad that they're kind of leaning in that direction in New World as well.
Yeah, maybe one day we'll see a full-blown set bonus type of thing like we do in ESO. That's one of the things I do like about ESO. It has its flaws, but that's a good system.
I'm here for
so
it.
let's talk about, me too. So let's talk about dropped versus crafted versus faction armor real quick. So the primary difference between dropped armor and crafted armor in New World is that armor that is looted will come with a specific set of perks, and those cannot be changed. And then whenever you're crafting gear, you can choose which perks to apply to that specific piece of gear. I do think from the recent patch notes, there is a way to change those on faction gear now. There's an item in the faction vendor that will allow you to kind of change some of those things up on your faction gear whenever you buy them. So that's pretty important and a pretty good change, I think. So bind on pickup items. So all equipable items are either bind on pickup or bind on equip or bind on pickup. And I think with the exception of common gear, I don't think that's the case with common gear anymore. They changed that as well. But everything above the common tier is bind on equip or bind on pickup. So it was put into the game to kind of protect the economy, the item economy, and keep demand for quality items high. So that's why they did the bind on equip or bind on pickup for those types of items. So
another great change.
Yeah, I think so too. So let's wrap this up real quick by talking about bonuses, right? So there's 2 different types of bonuses that can be applied to your armor in New World, and we talked about this a little bit earlier with the rarity types. Whenever you went over it, Red, with the slots, the gem slots, and the bonuses you get, but they're perks and gem slots, right? So perks give your armor your specific buffs, like your lightning ward that gives a piece of armor lightning damage absorption, and then there's crafting and gathering perks that can be added to your armor that will enhance your gathering and crafting. And then we also have a full list of those perks, and it is not updated as of today, as of the release of this video, but whenever the NDA drops, it will be fully updated with the new perks that you can get. You can check that out at the database at newworldfans.com. And then gem slots and armor, those can be equipped with a cut gem that will give you additional enchantments to your gear. So like, for example, a brilliant cut onyx will give you a plus 25% damage against targets with full health. So that's kind of how the armor works, man.
Yes, sir. And dude, I think that, and we've kind of mentioned this throughout the entire video. They've made some amazing changes in this category for itemization and specifically armor. It's going to be fun to gear up and level up and acquire, all these armor sets that are going to make you better at certain activities. Do you want to gather? Well, there's going to be an armor set that you're going to be fishing for and trying to to get loot for, to get that perfect set for you logging? Do you want to do expeditions? Well, you're going to want a certain set of armor for that. Portals, etc. I love the changes here. Sometimes I worry about inventory space, but great changes in the itemization part of New World since the preview event.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're on the right track with the armor for sure. It's a really good system. Everything they've implemented is really good. It's positive, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun, man. A lot of build diversity coming our way, that's for sure, and I'm here for that.
All right, so if you want to read the full article over there at New World Fans, go check that out. We'll leave a link in the description below. Guys, don't forget the subscription button, the notification bell for more New World content like this. Thank you to our Patreons, patrons from Patreon. We really appreciate you guys. Wow, this is completely going off the rails. It's late, Bordy. Let's close this bad boy down. Thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. You guys have no idea how crazy the past month has been for us, and that's all because of you guys. You guys are killing it, and we thank you for that. And we will see you in the next video.